Good morning and welcome to the new dawn. It is 6 a.m. in Nairobi, Kenya on this Friday, the 17th of May. Many thanks for joining us on the broadcast today. My name is Michelle Ngele Odhiambo. A wonderful, wonderful morning as we bring you news and reviews of the top stories making headlines today. At the top of the hour, we'll have a week in review, a review of the top stories that have made headlines in the country this week, including the Finance Bill 2024, as well as the much-anticipated Limuru 3 meeting. But let's begin with some of the news making headlines this morning. Now, the much-anticipated Limuru 3 meeting is set for today, with divisions already rocking the Mount Kenya region ahead of the event, which organizers say seeks to unite the region. Leaders allied to the UDA party from the region have distanced themselves from the conference, saying it is intended to divide the region ethnically. The organizers have, however, called on Mount Kenya residents to come in large numbers.
Plans for the Limuru 3 conference are in top gear as the day fast approaches. The Limuru 3 conference set for Friday is already raising political temperatures in the Mount Kenya region, with divisions taking center stage. Leaders allied to the UDA party have distanced themselves from the conference, claiming it is intended to divide the region ethnically. The organizers now want Mount Kenya residents to show up in numbers and chart a way forward.
This is the time to sit down and discuss matters concerning Mount Kenya. We'll do this is a consultative meeting, and then moving forward, we go to the counties, county by county.
Ours is to extend a message of goodwill to all Kenyans, and we hope they too wish us well as we deliberate on matters that concern the great region of Mount Kenya.
It is a meeting that has exposed the underbelly of the Mount Kenya unity, with the UDA allied politicians refusing to be part of it.
The government has got nothing to do with this meeting. This is a people's meeting, and what has brought us here in Limuru 3 is because the government has had some friction.
Governor Anne Waiguru has criticized the meeting, calling it a political function that deviates from the Kenya Kwanza government's core mandate of delivering to the people. Despite earlier threats to disrupt the meeting, UDA ally politicians are taking a back seat.
Na sasa ni wakati wa kazi. Hao wenye wanazunguka wakisema sijui Limuru 3, Limuru 2, sisi tunawaambia sasa wakati ambapo tuko kazini. Na siasa, wakati wa siasa itakuja. Wakati wa kupanga siasa itafika. Lakini sasa sisi hatuko hapo mahali ya Limuru 3.
I don't know about people inviting themselves. All I know is that I invite everybody to join us, people who are in Limuru 1 and Limuru 2, and join us in Limuru 3. The bulk of the people who will be at Limuru 3 would be justified to talk about one man, one vote, one shilling. What I cannot understand is people like me crying with them. Yet I'm a cabinet minister. And that's why I'm really supporting them. I believe that it would have been better off organized by neutral people, professionals or business people. But if no one is coming forward, I have got no reason whatsoever to begrudge people who are coming forward.
Political pundits argue that the meeting, which is believed to have the backing of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, will have the region speaking in one voice after the 2022 elections, which divided the mountain into the opposition and the government.
Whether the UDA leaders from Mount Kenya region who are in government show up at Limuru 2 or 3 or not, silently we know, we can feel, we can see from their utterances that they are very much in support of the idea of the unity of Mount Kenya region.
The first Limuru meeting was held in March 1966 by founding President Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. The Limuru 2 conference took place in 2012, uniting leaders from the Gikuyu, Embu and the Meru communities and endorsing President Uhuru Kenyatta as the region's leader.
Now, fresh clamour for the adoption of the one man, one shilling revenue allocation formula has triggered a storm across the country, with a section of leaders accusing the DP of fueling ethnic politics. Opponents of the formula say its implementation will marginalize other parts of the country. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's call for the implementation of the one man, one vote, one shilling principle continues to face criticism from different quarters. The chair of the Council of Governors, Anne Waiguru, says governors have already presented their proposals on revenue allocation across the country.
Kugawanywa kwa pesa sio shida ambayo inakaba watu wa Mount Kenya peke yake. Pia kuna eneo zingine tofauti ambazo pia ziko na watu ambao wanagawiwa pesa ya kutosha. Sisi tunataka kuangalia ya kwamba pesa ziongezwe katika county governments, zipate pesa ya kutosha ili waweze kuhudumia wananchi kulingana na constitution ya Kenya.
East African Legislative Assembly member and UDA Vice Chair Hassan Omar has urged the Deputy President to abandon the proposal, citing concerns that it could incite hostility within the country.
One vote, one shilling. Wachana nayo. Hiyo itatuletea uhasama mkubwa sana ndani ya hii Kenya. Leo yule mtu wa Lamu ambaye ametengwa kwa muda yote, leo amepewa zaidi kidogo ili waendeleze jamii yao. Hiko shida gani? Inaitwa social justice.
Rigath's comments have not sat well with a section of Kenyans who expressed that the formula would segregate parts of the country. The position taken by Gachagua is a U-turn after he opposed the formula that was first proposed by former President Uhuru Kenyatta under the botched Building Bridges initiative, popularly known as BBI.
As at now is irrelevant. Sababu ilikuwa kwa mswada wa BBI na ikapigwa vita kali sana. We never saw any sense at that time. Right now, wale watu wako in power, they want to save their necks at the disadvantage of the marginalized areas.
Mimi niko sawa vile hao waheshimiwa wamefikiria ndio wengine wachangamke.
Sio kama bwana Gachagua una support one man, one vote, one shilling. Pia kumbuka, weka hiyo kando. Sema twende kulingana na resources za county.
Rigath's latest push comes barely a week after President William Ruto fired a warning shot at senior politicians in his UDA party, whom he accused of whipping up ethnic emotions for political survival.
We will go to that discussion where we are saying that this country are the most popular, they should get the most money. You will see members of that community who are living in other areas, they will be chased away. We are actually planting a seed of discord. We are planting a seed of ethnic clashes.
If the one man, one shilling principle were to be implemented today, 18 counties would be the biggest gainers. These include Nairobi with its 4.4 million people, Kiambu with 2.4 million, Nakuru with 2.2 million people, among others. Of the 18 counties, only 3 are from the Mount Kenya region, adding a twist to the raging scramble for resources in the country.
For example, maeneo kama Karisa, ama Moyale, ama Turukana, watakuwa wamemsaidia vipi? Watakuwa wanaendelea kusambaratisha nchi.
They should first of all explain to the ordinary mwananchi the meaning of one shilling, one man, one vote, to understand it properly.
Constitutional experts say the current dispute on whether to put more weight on population or on geography is misplaced as far as the spirit and the letter of the Constitution is concerned. Michelle Ngele Odhiambo, K24. Economists and tax experts are recommending that the government remove the proposed car tax and tax on mobile money transactions from the 2024 finance bill, arguing that the measures will lead to a decrease in revenue collection. They are also urging the government to listen to their concerns, a plea they feel was ignored last year. Here's David Kagina with the details.
Just days after the government, through a special parliamentary committee on finance, gave its recommendations of the 2024 finance bill, economists have emerged to oppose some of the proposals listed in the bill.
Lists that we have
The economists feel Kenyans currently have no motivation to pay more taxes, as the government has not explained how it plans to use the money, and thus, without accountability, the bill may be rejected. Some employers who attended the meeting with these experts have indicated that, should the proposed economic policies be adopted as they are, some companies will be forced to reduce their employees to avoid increased costs.
Perhaps a good start would be how much taxes did we collect in the year so far, and how much of that, for example, is attributed to measures that were introduced through Finance Act 2023. How have we used those taxes? And therefore, you're able to then explain the gap and say, fine, we introduced these new taxes, but we're not able to collect as much. That's why we want to introduce some more of the taxes so that we close the gap.
Regarding the proposed motor vehicle tax for car owners, which ranges between 5,000 and 100,000 shillings, depending on the value of the car, experts recommend that the tax be removed. They argue that the government will lose revenue if Kenyans find alternative means of transportation.
Already, as you saw, the insurance rates went high, so people were actually doing third party. So when you introduce the motor vehicle tax, it's going to really make people actually now either reduce their spend in terms of the motor vehicle, reduce insurance, because you see it's the insurance company that are supposed to enhance compliance with this tax. So people will move away even from actually doing the right thing.
The bill also proposes a VAT on banking and mobile money services, which experts say will lead to many Kenyans preferring to use cash, which will make it more challenging for the government to collect taxes and create opportunities for money laundering.
So it will have detrimental effects, because you'll see that now even from an AML perspective, it was easier to monitor money when it is in the system. When we move to a cash economy, it will be hard to monitor in terms of where is the money coming from, where is it going to, because now if people are removing it from the system.
The experts' request is for the government to listen to their recommendations, unlike last year when they felt their suggestions were ignored. David Kagina, K24 TV, Nairobi.
The Controller of Budget has referred to President William Ruto's revenue targets for the next financial year as nearly impossible to achieve, citing a 300 billion shilling shortfall in the current fiscal year's revenue. And as Joel Chacha reports, Margaret Nyakango has warned that overtaxation will not generate the additional 700 billion shillings needed, highlighting the imbalance in budget allocations.
See you tomorrow.
The Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, has laughed off the plans by the government to collect 2.9 trillion revenues in the next financial year 2024-2025, terming the projected 700 billion increment as expecting a miracle.
Are we premising our projection on wrong assumptions?
2.9 trillion up from 2.2. Is this achievable? My opinion is that it's not achievable.
Good.
Yes, if we achieve it, I would be very happy. So it will be a miracle to achieve the figures.
This statement comes just a day after President William Ruto proposed increasing the tax to GDP ratio, while the National Treasury acknowledged a significant revenue shortfall.
My drive is to push Kenya. Possibly this year we will be at 16% from 14%. I want in my term, God willing, to leave it at between 20 and 22%.
We are projecting that by end of June, we may not collect 300 billion.
Nyakango has further poked holes on the budgetary allocations, pointing out the disproportionate ratio of 17% for development compared to over 70% for recurrent expenditure.
This indeed is a big concern, Honorable Chair, with the estimates suggesting a ratio of 70.9 to 17.5% respectively.
The Control of Budget has at the same time exposed a controversial move by the government to clear all the debt owed by the national carrier Kenya Airways, amounting to over 70 billion Kenya shillings.
As and when they become okay, they should pay back that. That is when it is guaranteed. But right now, it's been taken over by the government as its own debt.
On the strengthening of the shilling, she notes that it has helped reduce the national debt by 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings. Nyakango was speaking before the Debt and Privatization Committee of the National Assembly. Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Kenya and Uganda have signed 7 memoranda of understanding to deepen bilateral relations between the two countries. Among these agreements is a tripartite agreement on the importation and transit of refined petroleum products through Kenya to Uganda. This decision is seen as a strategic move to improve economic ties between the neighbors following recent tensions over government-to-government oil imports from the Gulf. Here's a report. Linda Kosgei with the details.
Kenya and Uganda have taken a significant step towards strengthening their trade relations.
In a historic move, Kenya has signed a tripartite agreement with Uganda aimed at boosting trade between the two nations.
Principal Secretary, Petroleum Kenya.
President William Ruto said the second session of the joint ministerial meeting held from May 12th to 14th, 2024 in Kampala, Uganda, culminated in the signing of 7 instruments of cooperation. Among them is an agreement allowing Kenya to import oil to Uganda, marking a new chapter in their economic partnership, with Kenya agreeing to extend the oil pipeline from Eldoret to Uganda.
We've just witnessed enables Uganda National Oil Company Limited to import refined product commodities directly from producers in different jurisdictions, thus bringing to an end the challenges faced by the sector in Uganda.
We must create prosperity in the modern way by everybody joining the money economy. And when you join the money economy, you produce a good or a service.
President William Ruto emphasized the need for collaboration with Uganda, outlining key areas of cooperation. The president insisted that removal of trade barriers like tariffs would be an effective tool to boost economic growth, connect more people to work, and increase citizens' purchasing power as the economy recovers.
All the issues around rice and juice and furniture and eggs and chicken and sugar and all the other issues are now resolved.
The decision comes on the heels of recent tensions caused by the government-to-government oil imports from the Gulf, which strained relations between the neighboring countries.
We've also agreed that we will now explore jointly the extension of the pipeline from Eldoret to Kampala that will form the conversation in the next Joint Ministerial Committee.
President Museveni's visit underscores the strong relations between the two countries.
Africa needs to organize the market of Africa to integrate it. The fragmented market of Africa will not help us. That's how they evolved. In 1980, you can see almost more than 20 years since independence. This was the first time they started talking about the economic integration.
Other MOUs signed today include:
we also have MOUs on cooperation of public service and development, whose objective is to enhance service delivery by our 2 public service institutions.
As both countries look towards a future of increased partnership and prosperity, this agreement marks a significant milestone in their shared history. President Museveni is in Kenya for a 3-day visit, seeking to further cement the relationship between Kenya and Uganda. Linda Koskei, K24 TV.
The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, has affirmed its support for the junior secondary school intern teachers protesting for better conditions. They are calling on the government to increase budgetary allocation to ensure that these teachers are confirmed as permanent and pensionable by the next financial year. Harriet Chimea reports on the ongoing situation and challenges faced due to a significant budget deficit.
Intern junior secondary school teachers have vowed to continue their strike until the demands are met. This as grade 7 and 8 continue bearing the brunt of paralyzed learning. In Nairobi, Eldoret, Siaya and Embu, KUPPET has been at the forefront of the protests.
And you are giving us a deaf ear. Mr. President, you have 3 years to rectify the mess. Otherwise, we will not back you in 2027.
Graduates of 2022, graduates of 2023 are in class, whereas we have 2015 graduates who are out here as interns. And it is very wrong because we don't understand what happened to queuing in the commission.
Any threats from TSC administration should be reported to the national leadership immediately, so that legal action can be taken against the perpetrators.
The parents must ensure that they put the government to task to ensure that there is quality service delivery. The government has employed 1 or 2 or 3 teachers to teach learning areas that they are not familiar with. The learners are being served with a raw deal.
Sisi ni wale walimu ambao tulisubiri ule mshahara kwa zaidi ya miezi 6. Na sasa tuko hapa leo tunalia kwa sababu ahadi yao ile walitupa kwamba baada ya mwaka mmoja wangetupa kandarasi za kudumu, ile ahadi bado haijatimia.
In the capital city, they marched from Green Park to the Senate to present their petition. However, they were met only by a clerk who did not take their petition with the seriousness it deserves. They now await the Senate's response in the next 72 hours. Kuppet also demanded an increase in the budget allocation for the next financial year to ensure proper payment for JSS teachers, adding that their confirmation to permanent and pensionable should be completed by the next financial year.
Do wherever supplementary budget, avail money by June, July, and give these teachers. Yes. Without that, we support them. Don't report.
However, this could be a challenge as the proposed 2024-2025 budget has a deficit of 15.4 billion shillings for junior secondary schools, which could disrupt the issuance of capitation and further cripple the already staggering competency-based curriculum CBC.
It is very sad that these JSS, they are being paid 17,000, yet we can see the letters. Some people younger than them, those who are born the year 2000 and 2003, are being given letters of permanent and pensionable. It is very demotivating.
Following a ruling that nullified the Teachers Service Commission illegal implementation of internships for already qualified teachers, the interns claim that TSC has continuously ignored their grievances. Harriet Chimea, K24.
Hundreds of residents living in informal settlements have decried the unjust evictions and brutality in the ongoing demolitions targeting structures built on riparian land. The residents who took to the streets yesterday have petitioned the county government to expedite set regulations to protect residents in informal settlements and ensure compensation and appropriate resettlement as per the National Land Use Policy. Gertrude Burgay reports.
Drama ensued outside the Nairobi County Assembly today, following a fracas between the law enforcement officers and peaceful demonstrators. Hundreds of Nairobi residents took to the streets to protest what they have termed as unjust and brutal evictions by the government on structures built on riparian land.
Hakuna playing grounds za watoto wetu, hakuna green spaces, hakuna public spaces. Aya, ukiona riparian land, huko ghetto wanabomoa kwa sababu ati manyumba ziko riparian land. Lakini tuliona pia huku Karen Kileleshwa, hawajaanza kubomoa, wanataka kujenga tu manyumba zinaenda juu. Ona, kwani hiyo ni maisha kweli? Hiyo sio maisha.
According to dozens of the families, the county must expedite regulations to protect residents in informal settlements during reclamation processes and ensure compensation as per the constitution.
We have a river in South B. They were demolishing one side of the river that has what they're calling the kijiji or informal settlements. But the side that has nyumba za wenye wako na pesa or what we can call middle class or factories were left intact. And in fact, some of the places that they were demolishing, the houses of the informal settlements were not even as near to the river as where the other houses were. So even their reaction to that was unfair in itself. It was an injustice in itself.
When riparian land that has been encroached on, you have the demolition of homes, but in Runda, you haven't removed anyone from there. Yet the houses are up to their waist in water. So we cannot have an unequal Nairobi where some have access to impunity and others do not.
The residents have condemned the recent attacks by the police during the eviction process, which has led to several deaths on Kenyans dwelling within the slums.
The money set aside for disasters. What has happened with that money? Because very many people in the informal settlement, they are sleeping in the tent, they don't have a place to stay.
The demonstrators have given a 7-day ultimatum to Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja to provide lasting solutions, failure to which they shall continue with the protest.
Na tuna demand Article 43, right to proper housing. Wenye wanaishi ghetto, tunataka proper housing. Na hizo nyumba wanasema wanasema affordable housing wanajenga. Ni za kina nani? Kama sisi wenye tunaishi huko ghetto.
Gertrude Burgay, K24 TV.
All right, let's take a break here on The New Dawn. When we come back, a look at the top stories making headlines on the dailies today. We'd like to hear where you're watching us from as well. Do speak to us on X. The hashtag is New Dawn. You can also speak to us at K24 Tv. Do stay with us.